Chapter 7, Commands and Configs. Every time we have run our tests in previous chapters, we have always run all tests using the Python-M PyTest command without any options or arguments. In this chapter, we will learn about PyTest's powerful command line options. PyTest has several options available. We won't cover them all in this course, but we will cover many important ones. For starters, you can always learn about PyTest's available command line options by using the --help or -h option. As typical for help commands, PyTest will list all available options with descriptions. PyTest will also list options for its available plugins. We'll cover plugins in a later chapter. When running tests, you can control how much output PyTest prints. I'm going to temporarily inject a failure into one of our test cases to demonstrate output differences. When we run the tests normally, we expect to see the PyTest banner followed by a line for each module with dots and Fs for test functions. PyTest also prints out the failure introspection for each test shown. However, when we run the tests with the --verbose option or -v, PyTest prints more data. At the top, it prints cached dir and metadata. It also prints a line for each test case, giving its path, name, and explicit passed or failed status. Failure introspection is also printed. The list of test case paths makes it easier to see at a glance what test cases are failed. We can also do the opposite of verbose. When we run our tests with the --quiet option or -q, PyTest doesn't print the top matter or even the test modules. It prints only the dots and the Fs. Even though the output is quiet, PyTest still prints the failure introspection. The quiet option is great when you want to avoid polluting your console with too many lines. It's particularly helpful when developing new tests. PyTest also provides a mechanism for stopping test execution after failures happen. By default, PyTest will run all tests it finds, no matter how many failures happen. However, you might want to stop execution soon. To stop running tests after one failure, use the --exit first or -x option. As soon as the first failure happens, PyTest stops. It even prints, stopping after however many failures. To stop running tests after a certain number of failures, use the --maxfail equals and include the number of however many failures you want to stop at. These options can be helpful when debugging test cases so that you don't become overwhelmed by too many failures at once. They can also be helpful when running very large test suites. If, for example, 100 tests fail in a suite of 1,000, then there might be a system-wide problem. Ending that test suite early would speed up the feedback loop and avoid needlessly burning resources for tests that would likely fail. PyTest console output is helpful when manually triggering tests, but sometimes you might need to save test results to a file. Many tools, like continuous integration servers, need test result files in order to report test results. One of the most common formats is JUnit's XML report format. PyTest includes an option that will generate a JUnit XML file for test results. Simply use --JUnit XML and add a report file path. Note that the version of PyTest I'm using for this course prints a warning message for this option, saying that it will be changed in upcoming releases. We will make this warning go away in just a moment. Now, let's talk about configuration. Command line options are great for running tests in specific ways on the fly. However, there might be some options you want to set more permanently, especially when running tests in a continuous integration environment. Some options are not available directly through the command line either. Thankfully, you can create a configuration file for PyTest to specify options in a file rather than on the command line. PyTest supports a few different file formats for configuration files. The most common one I've seen is PyTest-ini. Whichever format you choose, make sure you follow appropriate conventions. Configuration files should be loaded in the project's root directory. PyTest configuration files support many options. AddOps is one of the most useful. It lets you set options directly as they would be entered on the command line. Several other options exist as well, so take time to review them on the PyTest docs line. Let's add a configuration file to our project. Create a new file named pytest.ini in the project root directory. In this file, make pytest, surrounded in brackets, the first line. Make junit_family equals xunit2, the second line, and then save this file. This option should make that JUnit XML warning message go away. Rerun the tests with the JUnit XML option. This time, the warning message isn't printed. Nice. That's the end of this chapter. Don't forget to undo the failure we deliberately injected at the beginning of the chapter. As I said at the beginning, there are more PyTest options available than we can cover in this course. Please take time to review them on your own. You never know what might be useful for your project. Resource links will be provided in the transcript.